Hi everybody out there. What we're going to be doing today is going over really what RobotC and Robot Virtual Worlds are, and also showing you how to get started with all of this good stuff. So before we talk about Robot Virtual Worlds, I actually want to give you just a little bit of context and talk about RobotC. So what is RobotC? It's a complete C programming language that we have for educational robotics. We developed it for teachers, students, competitions, powerful enough for hobbyists and professionals. And one of the things that it does that it's really great is that it lets you program a wide variety of different microcontrollers that are popular inside of education. So we've got the Lego Mindstorms NXT and RCX, the VEX PIC and VEX Cortex, Tetrix, lots of Arduinos. And so using one language, you can program all these different microcontrollers. C is one of the most popular programming languages inside of the world. So a student that learns how to program inside of RobotC is getting some real-world value. But we also added lots of nice commands to RobotC to make it easy to program robots. So we have commands specifically for programming motors, for getting sensor values, for doing all those kinds of things that you would want to do with a robot. And it is a complete solution. You can write your code inside of there. You can download it to the robot. Another great thing is we have this debugger, so you can quickly view all of the values of your motors, sensors, variables, all in real time. You can quickly find and troubleshoot all of the problems inside of your programs. And it's also built so that it goes up in complexity as you get more experience. So we have basic, expert, and super user modes. So you can start out in basic mode, and it'll show you some commands and some options. Then you can switch to expert, and it will show you more commands and more options. And then super user shows you everything. So it's a very powerful tool. It is made for education. We have lots of curriculum and things surrounding it, and also lots and lots of sample code to help you get started. So that is our programming language, and with that in mind, I can start to talk about what Robot Virtual Worlds are a little bit. So Robot Virtual Worlds is a simulation environment that runs the virtual robots programmed in RobotC. So to recap a little bit, we have RobotC, which is our programming language that lets you program VEX, Lego, and Arduino robots. RVW is a simulation environment. So let's say you don't have a real robot. You can still write the same RobotC code, but instead of downloading it and running it on a robot, you can actually download it and run it inside of this simulation environment that we call Robot Virtual Worlds. Okay, so why does Robot Virtual Worlds exist? So we've been doing robotics research for more than a decade, and there's been kind of two pervasive problems that we've seen the entire time. The first one is that many classrooms just don't have enough robots for students. So you'll have a classroom of 24 students and just 2 robots. And that's really not a great scenario because there's a lot of students that aren't getting the hands-on practice. They get disinterested. They just aren't learning, not taking the most advantage of their education. So we unfortunately see that a lot. And then also very few students have robots at home. So that kind of prevents a teacher from giving homework, or if a student happens to miss a day of robotics class, they have an awfully hard time to make up that work. Not many schools will let a student take a robot home and make up the work because robots can be expensive. So with Robot Virtual Worlds, we try to tackle both of these. So again, we have the RobotC software available, and as long as you have a computer, you can, whenever you write your programs, you can compile and download it to this virtual simulation environment, and then a virtual robot, if you say motors to go, they will go on the virtual robot instead. So a student at home, a classroom that has computers, it takes care of these problems where, there's not robots inside of the situation. And it's worth knowing that every single version of RobotC comes with a free 60-day trial. And also, if you're a student at home, you can get a free license for Robot Virtual Worlds from our Computer Science Student Network website, CS2N, and we'll be sure to point you to some of those resources. So just know that it's a great tool, and it's out there for free if you're a student at home. So those were our initial reasons for creating Robot Virtual Worlds, but we actually have some additional motivation now. We've been doing some research between us and the LRDC at the University of Pittsburgh, the Learning Research and Development Center. And the research has shown that if your goal is to learn how to program, the virtual environment is actually more effective and more efficient than physical robots. So what this research study consisted of is there were different groups of students that were given the same activities to complete, but some of them were told to complete it with physical robots, and some were told to complete them with virtual robots. The ones that completed it with virtual robots completed it more than a month faster, and a lot of that is due to just taking out of all of the distractors. So with real robots, you have broken motors, broken sensors, the low batteries, setup time, all these things. With a virtual environment, all of these things really kind of go away. You know, you can write your code, test it, and make a change, immediately retest it. There's no reset time. There's much less wasted time with the virtual robots. And so for teaching programming, it's actually a much more effective tool. Okay, so I've been talking about these virtual environments a little bit, and I do want to talk about them just a little bit more, but then we'll actually go into how to get set up and going on your own computer. But before we dive in, I just want to kind of give a high-level view of what we have. And basically, we have RVW environments for the classroom, for competitions, and also for more informal themed gaming environments. So let's talk a little bit about each of these. First, the classroom environments. So with RobotC, we had an existing set of curriculum. They were filled with tutorials and practice challenges, tutorial videos that would take you step by step how to program. And we'll be taking a closer look at this next week. But it shows you, takes you from literally knowing no programming to using motors, sensors, remote control, variables, while loops, lots of good stuff. So what we did is we have what's called the Curriculum Companion, where every practice programming challenge inside of there, we simulated inside of a virtual environment. So you could follow along with our existing curriculum, write your code inside of RobotC, but then even if you didn't have a real robot, you could compile it and download it to one of these virtual robots that we have here. As you go through and do that, students have the ability to earn badges and achievements. So if you're familiar with things like Xbox or PlayStation, as students play games, they are awarded with badges and achievements for doing different things inside of the games. So we have that same thing here to try to keep them motivated. So as they complete a challenge, they get a badge. And then the other real benefit from this is that that badge goes to our computer science student network, where you as a teacher or a parent can go and check out the progress that they're making, and they also have kind of a trophy case that shows the progress that they've made over time. Also inside of the curriculum realm, we have the level builder. So we know that our curriculum is great. It teaches a certain set of things, but there may be things out there that teachers want to teach, but there's not a virtual environment that shows that. One great example is a maze-solving robot that we get lots of requests for. So with our level builder, which I have some screenshots up here right now, you can actually create your own level. So we have an entire set of props, walls, balls, cubes, start zones, line tracking tiles, that you can completely configure your own level, save it, and then solve that challenge using RobotC. So if you're a teacher, you could make 24 different challenges and give a different one to each student and have them each solve their own challenge. If you're a student, you could create a challenge and give it to your friend and see if they could solve this really hard challenge that you came up with. And it's just a lot of fun because you can actually make your own challenges, share them, and it's a very effective teaching tool. We recently also added a model importer. So if you are in a 3D modeling class, you can actually import your own models and use them inside of the world as well. Next up, we have our competition environment. So what we found, again, with our experience in the robotics world over time, is that robotics teams spend an awful lot of time building their robot and not as much time programming the robot. We see a lot of teams that are trying to figure out how to program their robots just, the day before the competition. So what we've done is we've modeled some of the popular competitions. There's VEX, which does their competition, and FTC, which does theirs. And so every year they renew their competition, and every year we release a virtual competition so that while part of the team is building a robot, the other part of the team can be learning to program, learning how to work with sensors, those kinds of things, so that they'll be better prepared for their competition. So for instance, this year we have VEX Sack Attack, which is the current VEX competition. We have 3 programmable robots inside of there: Scooperbot, Clawbot, and Plowbot. All of them, have multiple sensors with motors, encoders, sonar sensor, line tracking sensors, gyroscopes, potentiometers, touch sensors. And so students can learn to program all of these robots ahead of time and then apply those skills to the real robots. And then the same is true for the FTC game, Ring It Up. We have several programmable robots there, all with motors, sensors, light sensors. And again, it's just a great opportunity to learn to program before the actual competition. And then last but not least, we have our themed gaming environments. So our theory is that learning and gaming are not mutually exclusive. We have this ability to simulate robots inside of an environment. We have our RobotC programming language. We thought, let's bring these together, but inside of a fun themed environment. So we have an underwater environment, the ruins of Atlantis, outer space, Operation Reset, and also a tropical island or Palm Island. All different environments where the students can still learn the same RobotC programming language, can still use the same motors and sensors, but it feels more like a video game. And again, they can earn badges, they go on CS2N, and it's a lot of fun. So, with all that said, now I want to show you how to get started, and I have some steps here just to make sure that I stay on track. One of the first things that you want to do is make sure that your computer meets the requirements. You are basically running a video game on your computer in order to run the virtual worlds. So you would want to have a computer that you would expect to be able to run, some video games. On our RobotC website, which I will take you to, we actually have the requirements listed. So if I go to download, I'm at robotc.net, by the way, and if I go to download, Robot Virtual Worlds, we have a link for computer requirements and performance info. Okay, and the ones that you really want to pay attention here are that you have a Core 2 Duo processor or better, and also a dedicated graphics card. So if you have a single core computer or an integrated video card, your computer may struggle, but as long as you have both a dual core or better processor and a dedicated video card, your computer will almost definitely run virtual worlds very well. Okay, so step 1, make sure that your computer meets the requirements. Step 2 is to download and install RobotC. So again, where you want to go is robotc.net. And then if you go to download, there's an option for Robot Virtual Worlds. On the Robot Virtual Worlds page, there's a big blue download button that says download version, and currently it's version 3.60. By the time you watch this video, it may be newer, so just make sure that you download the latest. Okay, and then it will take me to a section of the page where I can choose to download Robot Virtual Worlds for Lego or download Robot Virtual Worlds for Cortex or PIC. Either of those will work, so whether you are a Lego programmer or a VEX programmer, pick whichever your preference is. So I'll click that, save the file, and that would take a little bit to compile and download, or sorry, just to download. And then once it downloads, you would run the installer to install the file. To save a little bit of time, I have installed RobotC on my computer. So what I'll do is I'll go to RobotC. It will create a shortcut link on my desktop. So I'll double click on there. And then I will full screen RobotC. So with RobotC installed, you actually have everything that you need for virtual worlds. Now, let's say that you already had RobotC installed. That's perfectly fine. You can pick up with the steps here. The first thing that you want to do is go to Help, Manage Licenses. Okay, so Help, Manage Licenses. And what that will show is what licenses you currently have active. In order for me to use the virtual world features, what I want to do is add one of the virtual world licenses. So what I'll do is I'll go to Add License, and then under Product, I can choose RobotC Virtual Worlds Mindstorms or RobotC Virtual Worlds Vex, Cortex, and PIC. Okay, so I will pick Mindstorms for the sake of this demonstration. And then if you had a license ID and a password, you could enter that information there, and then your computer would be registered, and you would be able to use Robot Virtual Worlds for the entire year or however long your license was good for. Or what I can do is I can start a trial, and you can see there that it will give me a full 60-day trial to try out Robot Virtual Worlds. We don't limit any of the features inside of the trial. You can use 100% of everything. The only limit is the amount of time, which again is 60 days. Okay, so once again, I went to Help, Manage Licenses. I added a license for Robot Virtual Worlds, and now I'm going to close. So now I have all of the features inside of RobotC that I need to program virtual robots, but now I need to set some of my settings, some of my environment variables inside of RobotC to be correct. So what I'll do is I'll go to Robot, and what I want to go to is compiler target. Oops, bear with me here for a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is close and reopen RobotC to make sure those settings take place. And I'm going to go to Robot, compiler target. Okay, and I'm having a little bit of a technical hiccup here, so bear with me for a second. Let's go back into Manage Licenses. Let's try adding a license let's try Vex, Cortex, and PIC. Start trial. Close. Okay, so not sure what happened there, but under Robot, compiler target, what you want to make sure that you do is go to Virtual Worlds. And now, anytime that I compile and download a program, rather than trying to go to a physical robot, it will go to the virtual world. Okay, so again, Robot, compiler target, Virtual Worlds. Next, I want to select which virtual world I would like to use. So I'll go to Window, select Virtual World to use. By default, you will have the curriculum companion tables installed. You'll see that I have a few additional ones here, but I'm going to pick curriculum companion tables 2.2.5 because that's the one that gets installed with RobotC by default. Okay, and then what I'll do is I will go to File, Open Sample Program. And again, if you remember back before, RobotC comes with over 250 sample programs. So what I can do is I can open one of these, And all that this program does is it causes my robot to move forward. So what I can do is I can go to Robot, compile and download program, and then instead of going to a real robot, it will launch my Robot Virtual Worlds simulation environment. So what I have in front of me, again, is the curriculum companion. It was the world that I selected, so it's what RobotC launched whenever I compiled and downloaded my code. What I'm given the option whenever I first go in is that I can log into CS2N, so I can create an account on CS2N, and then as I complete challenges and make progress and earn badges, those will accumulate on CS2N, or I can create a local account or just log in as a guest. So just for the sake of this demo, I'll log in as a guest. From there, I can go to the Robots tab to choose from several different programmable robots that we have. I'll choose Vex Squarebot. And then all of the following tabs contain programming challenges that I can practice. I'll go to the Labyrinth challenge, and then I'll press Start Activity. And then what you'll see there is a virtual robot inside of a virtual environment. So it looks like a real Vex robot that's inside of our curriculum. And then what you'll notice, there's a series of different buttons inside of here. There's a play button, which runs the program that I've compiled and downloaded to my robot. There's a reset button that will reset the robot's position, a home button that will take me back to the main menu, and then 3 different camera buttons that will give me different camera controls. So first, I'll just press the play button to run the robot. Okay, and you can see that our program is running on the robot, and I just earned a badge there, just for moving the robot forward. If I want, I can quickly reset the robot's position, I can change the camera view, and I can go back home. So getting started with the virtual worlds is not very hard. There are a few steps to get started, but it's just like programming a real robot, except I can do it all on my computer. Okay. We have lots and lots of good resources to show you. Kara's going to point you to some of these, and also we'll make all of these links available after the Hangout, so you can click on them nice and easily. But you can download Robot Virtual Worlds and all of these level packs at robotc.net. We have a robotvirtualworlds.com website. We have a set of getting started guides where, very similar to what we did here, we have a set of step-by-step tutorials. The Computer Science Student Network is at cs2n.org. That's where all of those badges and achievements go, along with lots of other great features that we'll talk about in upcoming Hangouts. And then lots of support, curriculum, forums, lots of other great resources at robotc.net. So at this point, I'll hand it back over to Kara for questions and answers, and I'll stop sharing my screen. Hi, Kara, are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Good, good. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions at this moment, but we had quite a few visitors, because I can see you guys who's visiting. But while we have a quiet moment, I'm just gonna share this with you guys. So for tuning into the webinar, we have a 15% discount code for all of you for Robot Virtual Worlds. It's RVW15 off. And so this will work at robomatter.com and robotc.net. And it'll work on if you want to purchase the Robot Virtual World bundles, which include RobotC as well. This discount code will work on it too. And I believe this expires on May 15th. So you have about a month and a half to test it out, see what you think, and then possibly purchase it. So this is part of the webinar series. We're going to be sharing this code throughout the 5 webinars. And then one other thing too we have is a survey. And the survey, if you guys could fill this out, if you tuned in, take some time, fill it out. There's only like, I think, 8 questions. And include your contact information at the end, just your email and phone number. And after all 5 webinars are complete on May 3rd, we're going to randomly pick a winner. And you will win 1 RobotC single annual license. So with that, you could possibly win RobotC. You get 15% off Robot Virtual Worlds for tuning in. So I hope you guys take advantage of this. If you watch all 5 webinars, you can enter 5 times. So 1 survey entry per webinar. So that is the link. I will probably include that link under the video too. This way, if you guys forget about it, you can go back later and check it out. But yeah, Jesse, do you have anything else to add?
No, that's all. Keep coming back, and thank you, Kara.
No problem. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next Monday at 4 p.m. And next Monday, or next week, is National Robotics Week, so our Robot Virtual World webinar is a part of that whole week. So, oh wait, we do got a question. I just saw it pop up. Can we design and use our own robots in Robot Virtual Worlds?
Not yet, but coming soon. So we've been actively working towards that direction. So with our level builder, we recently added a model importer. So you can create your own model in SolidWorks or Inventor, and then import that and use it inside of the level builder. So that was kind of a first big building block towards being able to import your own robot. So stay tuned. That is something that we get requested an awful lot, so we are working on it. It's just a big problem to solve.
And one other question. Do the wheels in the virtual worlds slip?
So inside of the virtual worlds, it is actually a physics engine. We use the Unity physics engine, which simulates all kinds of things like friction, gravity, slippage, lots of good stuff. So there's not a whole lot of slippage, but yes, because it is an actual physics environment, that does happen some.
Cool. Well, I think that looked like all the questions we have right now. So again, like I said, this is the first one. We have 4 more series coming up. You can find that on our website and in our blogs with the details on the topic. So if you already use Robot Virtual Worlds and you're looking for more in-depth stuff, definitely the next couple of weeks will include that. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye, guys.